Six Flags Astroworld was a theme park in Houston, Texas that operated from 1968 to 2005. Originally intended to complement the city's famous Astrodome, this family-owned park was sold to the Six Flags chain in 1975. It was the fourth Six Flags park and the first one to be acquired by the chain. However, as a result of high crime in the area and numerous parking issues, this park was shut down for good in 2005. However, the park has since become remembered for its unique and numerous attractions, including 12 very different roller coasters. So once again, it's time to take a look at these coasters from oldest to newest. Number 12, Serpent. This was the first roller coaster to open at the park. This was an aerodynamics mini mine train whose tame speed was clearly meant to appeal to all ages. Like many other mine train coasters, this was more scenic than thrilling, traveling through trees and by the water. While it was far from the most intense attraction to operate at the park, it was certainly the most historic, and there's no doubt many Texas coaster enthusiasts got their start on this ride. Number 11, Swamp Buggy. With an extremely short lifespan of around 2 years, this is one of only 3 coasters to be removed before the park was shut down in 2005. It was a Chance Rides toboggan, which was actually a pretty popular coaster model at one time. Yep, before the days of Lightning Run, Chance Rides made these bizarre coasters. At one point, 2 of them actually operated at Hershey Park. However, due to the discomfort and unreliability of these rides, almost all of them have since been torn down. Besides the occasional traveling fair, there's one standing but not operating at Lakemont Park, and there's one still in operation at Wisconsin's Little America, about an hour away from the Wisconsin Dells. So even if you're disappointed with Mount Olympus, you can still catch a rare credit an hour away. Number 10, Excalibur. Somewhere around the time that Swamp Buggy closed, the park made their next major investment, an Aero mine train. Believe it or not, when this coaster first opened, it was named Dexter Freebish's Electric Roller Ride, which is perhaps one of the most unique names for a roller coaster out there. The name is so unique that there is even a Texas-based alternative rock band named after it. The original name would end up lasting for 9 seasons until it was renamed and rethemed to Excalibur in 1981. It ended up lasting for another 17 years until it was closed down for good in 1998. In its place, the park installed a Vekoma SLC named Serial Thriller, but we'll get to that ride later. As for Excalibur, it was relocated to Oklahoma's Frontier City but was damaged during the moving process, making it impossible to reopen. Number 9, Texas Cyclone. This wooden coaster has a rather interesting history. In the mid-1970s, the famous Coney Island Cyclone in Brooklyn, New York was almost torn down in order to expand the New York Aquarium. Considering Astroworld didn't have a wooden coaster, the park's owners originally intended to buy the Cyclone and relocate it to their park. However, this process proved to be too expensive, so they hired William Cobb to design a mirror image of the Cyclone. After it was built, the only difference in its layout came in 1979 when the coaster's first turn was lowered 2 feet to prevent being valleyed by Houston's high winds. Like most of the park's other attractions, this coaster ceased operation in 2005. To this day, remnants of the coaster still exist though. Part of the track is preserved by the National Roller Coaster Museum, and the ride's trains can currently be found at La Ronde in the middle of Les Monsters Turnaround. Kind of a weird place for storage, but it's still pretty cool. Number 8, Greezed Lightnin. Yep, once again we get to talk about a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop in this series. Serving as the park's first launch coaster, this ride opened all the way back in 1978. Unlike other shuttle loops which used a weight drop system to catapult the trains, this coaster used a flywheel launch, which used a series of large wheels to pull the ride's launch cable. While only 2 weight drop shuttle loops are still operating today, twice as many flywheel shuttle loops are still in operation. There's Montezuma's Revenge at Knott's Berry Farm, Psyche Underground at Wallaby, Belgium, Shuttle Loop at Nagashima Spa Land, and Casa Bel Dos at La Feria Chapultepec Magico. After Astroworld Shuttle Loop closed with the park in 2005, it was relocated to Texas's Joyland Amusement Park. Unfortunately, it never ended up being built there. Later on in 2014, former Astroworld owners planned to reopen this coaster as part of an all-new Houston theme park. But considering that the manufacturer has been out of business for decades, it proved to be far too expensive and complex to reopen. Looks like you'll have to head to California if you want to ride a shuttle loop in America. Number 7, XLR8. This was one of the first aerodynamic suspended coasters to be built after the failure of the original Bat at Kings Island. Opening the same year as Big Bad Wolf at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, this ride also fared much better than the Bat, staying open for 21 years until closing with the park. The name XLR XLR8 is a pun on the word accelerate, and this pun would end up being reused by the Ben 10 character of the same name. During its lifetime at the park, the ride underwent a couple of changes. For Fright Fest in 2002, the ride was renamed 8RLX, and half of the cars on the ride's trains were faced backwards. While the name was reverted to XLR8, the reverse cars would stay on the ride until 2005. A year before the park's closure in 2005, the ride was also given a new blue and yellow color scheme, replacing the more subtle blue and gray color scheme. After the ride's closure, some of the trains were sent to Six Flags Magic Mountain, where they would end up being reused on Ninja, which is still in operation. Nowadays, only 5 Arrow suspended coasters are still operating, including the Bat at Kings Island, which by the way is not the Bat that originally closed at the park. Number 6. Viper. This Schwarzkopf looping star originally opened at Six Flags St. Louis's Jet Scream, no relation to the Rocko's Modern Life episode of the same name, where it operated from 1981 to 1988. For unknown reasons, this ride was relocated to Astroworld for the 1989 season, though considering how Great Adventure moved Ultra Twister to Astroworld for lower maintenance demands at a smaller park, this could be the reason Jet Scream was moved too. Meanwhile, Six Flags St. Louis opened the infamous Ninja that year and would eventually use the land Jet Scream sat on for Batman the Ride. During its stay at Astroworld, Viper became known for the tunnel over its first drop, though strangely enough, the image on the tunnel resembled a dragon more than a viper. Now that it's closed, the only way to ride a looping star in America is to head to Oklahoma City's Frontier City and ride Silver Bullet. Or if you're really adventurous, you can go to Africa and head to Botswana's Lion Park. Number 5. Ultra Twister. Originally opening at Six Flags Great Adventure, this was the only Togo pipeline coaster to be built outside of Japan. It took guests forwards and backwards on a twisting track without any turns. Due to the high attendance of Great Adventure though, it faced several issues including low capacity and high maintenance. Since Astroworld was regarded as a smaller Six Flags park, the company decided to relocate it there, and would continue to operate it until the park's closure in 2005. After its stay at Astroworld, Six Flags supposedly planned on reopening the coaster at Maryland's Six Flags America. Unfortunately, by the time it got there, it was damaged beyond repair and in no condition to operate. Once again, you'll have to head to Japan if you want to ride a Togo pipeline coaster. Number 4. Batman the Escape. This was one of only 2 Intamin stand-up coasters to operate in the Six Flags chain, with the other one being the currently standing but not operating Cobra at La Ronde. It previously operated at Six Flags Magic Mountain and Six Flags Great Adventure as Shockwave. Despite its popularity at both parks though, it was criticized for being a rough ride and suffered many technical issues. So just like Six Flags did with Ultra Twister, they ended up moving this coaster to Houston. There it was renamed, repainted, and rethemed to a Batman ride. When the coaster first opened, its queue line was themed to the Batcave and even featured a Batmobile on display. However, this theming was later removed in 1998 for unknown reasons. Later on, once Astroworld closed, the coaster was put into storage at former Six Flags Park Darien Lake. Shortly after it moved there though, Six Flags' financial problems caused them to put Darien Lake up for sale. Nevertheless, the track is still sitting on the property to this day, and by now it's pretty clear that the park has no intention of opening it. Number 3. Mayan Mindbender. Not to be confused with the other Mindbender at Six Flags over Georgia, this Mindbender was an indoor Vekoma MK700. After its initial run at Canada's defunct Boblo Island, this coaster was moved to Houston where it was rebuilt inside a mock Mayan pyramid. This unusual coaster sat up to 2 people per car. The front seat had a lap bar, but the person in the front would basically be sitting on the person in the back's lap. This was the only coaster of its kind built in the country, and yet another reason why Astroworld's lineup was truly unique. Luckily for those of you looking to ride this rare credit, you can still do so at Amarillo, Texas's Wonderland Park, where it's currently still operating. Sadly though, it's an outdoor coaster now and doesn't have its Mayan pyramid. Still, it's always good to be able to get a rare credit. Number 2. Texas Tornado. Also known as Taz's Texas Tornado, this Schwarzkopf coaster was a very short-lived attraction that closed just 2 years after it opened. Before its run at Astroworld, this ride got its start in Germany as a traveling fair coaster in the 1980s and 90s. During its run in the fun fair circuit, it also operated at Sweden's Grönelund in 1996. As you can imagine, after all of those years of going from fair to fair and being taken apart and rebuilt again, this ride wasn't exactly as reliable as a permanent installation. While it did receive rave reviews from guests, this coaster character would constantly break down the hot and humid Texas weather. After its stay at Astroworld, it was moved to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, where it was renamed Zonga. There it would only operate for 2 seasons before it was relocated to Mexico's San Marcos National Fair. After the fair ended in 2014, this ride was dismantled once again, and nobody knows if it will ever reopen. Number 1. Serial Thriller. This Vekoma SLC was the last coaster to be added to Astroworld. Coincidentally enough, an SLC named Serial Thriller also operated at Geauga Lake, another famous defunct park. Unlike the park's other unique attractions, there's really not much to say about this one, since SLCs are some of the most common coaster models out there. After Astroworld shut down, it was put into storage at the Great Escape for 4 years. That's quite a long time, but the ride was eventually relocated to La Ronde in Montreal, Canada. There it was renamed Ednor, which is just Ronde spelled backwards. As of right now, Serial Thriller and Mayan Mindbender are the only Astroworld coasters still operating today. So if you want to check out a piece of Astroworld's history, head on down to Montreal, Canada or Amarillo, Texas and check these rides out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to subscribe and follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You could find links in the description. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.